Last year was one of our hardest and longest seasons on record. Not only did we have a long-running campaign fire, but in total numbers of wildfires, and our total list of incidents was the highest on record. We can sit here and think we did a great job, and we did. But this year, we're facing another difficult season. Not only have we had low rainfall, we've also had enough rainfall that in some parts of the state, grass and crop growth is very good. So we're going to have dry forest and, in many places, a real grass fire season this year. Given that this season is likely to be long and arduous, and given that we're coming off a quite long fire season the year before, we have to be more careful than ever about a number of critical factors. The first of this is fatigue. Fatigue is not just about how long you work on the fire line. It's also about the long summer. It's about making sure that we take adequate rest. It's about not going day after day. It's about having flexibility in the way we go about rostering our shift and using our people. For a good example of this is many people are totally transfixed on day and night shift. We showed last year that a swing shift is often a very good option to maximise the use of our people, increase flexibility in being able to go home and come to work as volunteers and career staff at different and more suitable hours, but also it meant that we weren't working on the fire line at the least productive time. We were able to do things when the weather and the fire conditions suited. It's very important that we maintain flexibility in the way that we roster our shifts, in the way that we organise our tours of duty, and in the whole way that we think and go about preparing and operating this summer. Strike teams are one of the key ways that we can apply the critical principle of flexibility. Many times I hear people say to me, a strike team is 5 trucks of exactly the same type, or a strike team can't be split up. Strike teams need to be maintained and structured in a flexible way. There is capacity within the way we work to have task forces that are not the same vehicles. You build the strike team to do the job that presents. Remember, safety is fundamental in the way that we go about this business. So when we have a strike team, it is okay to have a strike team of 4 trucks. It is okay to have a strike team of 6 trucks. What's not okay is that you compromise safety in the approach that you're applying in the flexible arrangement that I'm talking about.
Flexibility is also important in staging areas. Strike teams may be directed to report to sector staging areas, which will reduce the downtime and get people onto the fire line for longer periods and far quicker. Accommodation may vary greatly from hotels, motels to tents, but I must say that even the tent accommodation is extremely well catered for, and you will be comfortable and you will be looked after. Communities more and more expect us firefighters to look after the environment. We must remember what we take in, we must take out. For example, during the last fire season, firefighters consumed an enormous amount of water, around 300,000 bottles. So each crew should think about taking some receptacles to pick up their garbage and collect their garbage and return it to the staging areas.
As we all know, water is going to be scarce again this year, and we need to be very mindful of how we use this precious resource and you must consider the use of bulldozers, hand tools, mineral earth trails, fuel removal by hand if necessary, where safe to do so, burn out unburned pockets of fuel, and allow the fire to burn down to the mineral earth trail if it's also safe to do so. Bear in mind the big picture when you approach any fire which can develop into a large-scale incident. It may be spotting, and it may be spotting well ahead of the front, it may be spotting behind where you actually are. So don't concentrate on that one area. Think of the big picture, get your ground surveillance teams out there, get an idea of what your exposures are and the real threat of that fire. Teamwork doesn't happen by itself, so when you arrive at a staging area, for instance, tell your crew leader you're going off for a bit of a wander and go and meet some of the DSE firefighters or the MFB firefighters or even the SES people that are involved in this incident. Get to know your fellow firefighter and your fellow emergency worker.
This fire started on a very high fire danger day, being a TFB mid-afternoon. Started on private property. It ran into the wildlife reserve, which is known as Bryan swamp. It burned 18 hectares into remnant gum trees, large gum trees. And that's when we realised we had a bit of a problem. We contained it, then we contacted DSE, Jeff Evans in Horsham, because we needed some advice on what to do with these burning gum trees like we have here.
Yeah, we had 18 hectares of Roman candles, didn't we? And I mean, you know, normally in a situation like that over the years, as you'd know and I would, probably you'd get in with a bulldozer and a chainsaw and want to fall a few and, you know, get them down, get them out and get home sort of business. But I think that on that day we both sort of realised the significance of this spot, being one of the last remnant areas of red gum in this local area. So we thought, well, hell, how can we save these trees?
The DSE and CFA work really well together on this fire. We've worked with Jeff Evans quite a few times before in the 2006 fires in the Grampians. We shared resources on this fire. We achieved a lot of outcomes that either one agency or the other couldn't do on their own.
This particular fire made us realise the value of having a good relationship with the guys in the CFA, with the group officers like Chips and all the other guys as well. Without that cooperation, without that knowing each other, I don't think the result would have turned out the way it did.
Discipline's important, not only for the way you work on the fire ground, but especially when you come to using a radio. You must be disciplined, because that discipline flows right through the ranks. If the trucks are chatting too much, strike team leaders can't do their work and sector commanders can't do their work, and ultimately people back at an ICC will never get a clear picture of what's happening in the field. I've seen many occasions where people have been talking on radio that they could have easily just walked up to each other, had a conversation, got the message through clearly, and it would have saved 30 seconds on the radio.
I have been a planning officer for many years, and the times we have had that useful information, they get the equipment they require to help them battle the fire. When they work with us and provide us with timely situation reports and accurate situation reports about weather, topography, the fuel loadings or the rate of spread, they give us all that information. We can plan, we know where the fire's going, we understand the resources that you are going to require.
Thank you for taking the time to look at this short DVD. Throughout this DVD, you have seen a number of experienced people talking about how we can go about our business to do it better. We as a fire service are doing very well. Our community has high expectations of our ability to do this work. And not only that, they are with us in a partnership to try and keep our communities as safe as possible. So let's work together. Let's remember that in this long and arduous fire season, we can in fact succeed in what seems certain to me to be quite difficult times. So let's do it. Let's do it together, and above all, let's stay safe.